Good morning. What we're going to go over today is Chapter 1 in Pharmacology, which is the drug development and ethical considerations. We're going to review those different rules and when the FDA was um, started and what the role was. You want to know the objectives and the terminology, and you'll have the guided read. And I want you to be using that and filling that out as I'm doing the lecture, and use that as a study tool for the exam. Okay, we're going to be covering chapters 1 through 14 in Module 1. So I want you to really stay focused and utilize these resources that we have. The Elsevier, use your NCLEX review, and also when we're talking about later on the specific drugs, I want you to correlate that with what you're learning and through the med-surg. So really, even though med-surg is the first class you're going to be taking, I want you to be going along with the drugs that are associated with it in pharmacology. So thank you. On this slide 1, and we're going to be talking about the approach and how the critical path initiative is a national strategy on focusing and improvement of the prevention of diagnosis and treatment of rare neglected disorders, and that was established by the FDA. You'll see that in the chapter, the process of the drug discovery and is a long process. It is a manufacturer. It takes 10 to 12 years sometimes, with a cost of $1 billion for each drug. And if you have out of $5,000 to $10,000 compounds, not dollars, that begin with preclinical testing, maybe only one makes it through the FDA process. So, there's the different core ethical principles that are relevant to the research involving human subjects: respect for persons, beneficence, and justice. Now, respect for others, patients to be treated as independent persons who can make their own decisions, and where it will be in their own best interest. Beneficence is the duty to protect research subjects from harm, and justice requires the selection of the research subjects to be fair. Now, you want to make sure that you know those 3 principles, and also the FDA basically follows the Good Practice Act, which is the GCP, consolidated guideline in the international quality standard of designing, conducting, monitoring, auditing, recording, analyzing, and reporting clinical research. The preclinical trials determine a drug's toxic pharmacological effects through animal testing in the laboratory. Now, when you're talking about genotoxicity, is the ability of the compound to actually damage the genetic information in the cell. The National Institute of Health Revitalization Act actually helped to ensure women and minorities were in the clinical research. And you'll see that on page, that's number, page 4. Now, as I was saying, you can see the process of the drug approval and how it goes about and how long it takes. And with this, you will see that you go from one set, and finally you have the 4 different phases of the research, because phase 1 of the research, whereas a new drug or a treatment is tested in a small group of people for the first time to evaluate the safety, and it determines the dosage range and identifies the side effects. But then when you go into phase 2, you have actually a new drug treatment is given to a larger group of people to see if it's effective and further evaluate the safety of the drug. And then with the phase 3 and the final phase before it gets onto market, the drug treatment is given to a large group of people to confirm the effectiveness, monitor the side effects, compare and commonly used treatments, and collect information that will allow the drug or treatment to be used safely. But then once you get to phase 4, the drug has been marketed, but then you gather the information on the drug effects in the various populations to assess any side effects associated with a long-term use. Because see, with that, the act that we were talking about that had in the Best Pharmaceutical Children's Act, and also where they were not studying on women and minorities, they found that drugs actually are not fit. One size doesn't fit all. And so you have to make sure genetics comes into play, female versus male. So they had to start really acknowledging that. And that's why this process takes so long. And so they had seen in the past, they were putting out drugs and distributing them amongst the hospital staff and not knowing what it is. They just knew that it helped their daily performance, for example. So, they have learned that there's this different side effects it caused. And so they had to start changing the way that pharmaceutical companies actually started putting drugs out to the population. As we talked here, I'll just go over this slide. We've already gone over the phases of the pharmaceutical research. Here we have the American Nurses Association and the Code of Ethics. We have to know that the American Association Code of Ethics is a guide for carrying out nursing responsibilities in a manner consistent to the quality and nursing care and ethical obligations of the profession. Because with the set drug standards in the United States, in the USP, drugs that meet those standards have the initials USP following the official name, denoting global recognition of quality. This identifies the drug meets the highest standards. So you have to go for patient safety, purity, strength, and packaging. And it's the nurse's responsibility to make sure they know the drug, that they're going to administer, and make sure, even though the doctor has ordered these medications, it is our responsibility to make sure if there's any contraindications between the medications that they're taking along with the new drug. See if there's incompatibilities, because many times you'll see a doctor miss or did not see the allergy that that patient may have had, or a sensitivity the patient had had. And so it is our responsibility to ethically inform the patient of the risks and benefits of the medication. So here, in 1970, Comprehensive Drug Abuse Prevention Control Act was started, and then there's so many the different ones you want to look, but specifically this particular one I just mentioned, and then the drug standards used into set by the U.S. the USP. Like I had said earlier, it is always put on the end of that drug to show that the quality standards had been met, and the national formulary. You also see that in 1997, the USDA modernized Act requirement of drugs that actually are intended for children to be treated in children, because you'll see many drugs that used to be able to be taken by children. Paregoric, for instance, Dimetap, the cold medicines, they were given to children under 2 years of age. Now you will see Paregoric, which is the opioid, is not even administered. It's not even out there in the marketplace in the U.S. And then you'll have the different pseudoephedrine and different things that could actually harm the children's nervous system, have actually started the time where they can't take the medication until they're 4 years of age. And there's also have been changes in immunizations, and they have changed the MMR to where it cannot be administered until after 12 months of age. And in the past, it was a big to do about the ingredients that were in the immunizations. So that was reviewed, and the mercury that was in it was taken out. Here's where you have the Nurses Practice Acts and the rules and regulation which provide the guidance to govern all drug administration by nurses. And you'll see that in the Board of Nursing, where they regulate the administration of medications that can and cannot be given by the LVN, unless the policy states in the particular hospital that they'll have guided training, and you administer per hospital policy. That will require more training with the hospital to prevent liability issues. And you want to know, with this, we want to make sure that the informed consent checklist We have, as nurses, to have consent signed, but make sure we're not the ones that are explaining the risks and benefits of those procedures or medications, because of the fact it is the physician's responsibility to do that. And so you'll want to look on box 1.2 on page 6 for that. Now you'll want to go to the combat drug counterfeiting. FDA and consumer groups and strategies basically are tougher oversight of the distributors, a rapid system, better informed consumers, and then you have the role of the nurse, which will educate, and then always verify on the pharmacy practice site, because you're going to go in, you're going to explain this medication, and with the people of this generation, we have the internet, so they're able to look up the side effects and the different things that it's used for, and so they're going to have a lot of questions, and so you will need to be informed about that drug and let them know. Now, next one, we're going to talk about the drug names. We have the chemical name, which is actually the chemical compound, and you'll see that on the drug handout sheet, and you'll see it actually broken down, and it's very difficult to read. But then you'll have the different things with the generic name and the brand name, which they should put the brand name in the center, because the brand name has a trademark. I mean, it's patented. So you may have a new drug that has come out, and for example, let's use the Singulair. Singulair came out in the early 2000s, and it was used for asthma, and it was a very costly drug, and so it helped a lot of people. But until the generic, the patent ended, and it was able to go by the generic name, which is monoclast, which many pharmaceutical companies got on the bandwagon and made, you would see the cost go down. The only issue with that, as you read in your book, you'll see not all generic brands or drugs are the same. You will see that sometimes they'll have what they call formulary. Some generic, you will not be as well as the brand name, because of the fact they're cost cutting and using maybe more filler. So just always be aware and know the chemical compound of that generic name versus the brand name, because you will sometimes, whatever the filler is, can sometimes react to other things. But normally they have a standard. So, of course, FDA guidelines, and so you don't have that problem. Now we go to the over-the-counter drugs, and the over-the-counter drugs, you have to where they are required to label. In the past, they didn't have to give you the inert ingredients that they used as fillers, but now it has come out to where they had to reveal FDA required that. Now, some specific warnings are extremely important. You want to make sure on the over-the-counter meds, you look at that. It's like what I talked to you before. Some medications cannot be given to children under a certain age. So if you have a child that is symptoms of, say, a UTI, and the parents go and more than 2 days, this could mask the symptoms. So you need to make sure that you contact the primary care physician and not just rely on over-the-counter medications. I see that a lot with children with pink eye. Pink eye will have these homeopathic remedies that people try to use and send the kids back to school. And when you're having a bacterial infection such as pink eye, which is the infection of the conjunctiva in the white part of the eye, it's very contagious. And so you want to make sure that that child is not using some over-the-counter remedy, and because it's just going to mask the symptoms. Okay, the drug resources. These are some that you want to make note of, and I'm going to just run an overview of what we have gone over, and you want to explain the Nurse Practice Act's roles, verify the orders, account for all controlled drugs. You want to maintain controlled substances log, ensure timely documentation, keep narcotics under double lock, and then also remember to discard controlled substances properly. And then you want to have the ability for a compound to alter or make sure that you teach, and you also check out what it could be interacting with. Let's see. We also want to know the passive transport. We're going to get into that in the next chapter, and then active transport. Then the chemical name, controlled substances, the critical path initiative, then the independent variable, dependent variable, genotoxicity, good clinical practice, autonomy, and the placebo effect, and then we have the Drug Administration Amendments Act allowed the FDA to do more comprehensive reviews of potential new drugs mandated post-marketing safety studies, and affected the distribution of drugs found to be not safe as pre-market studies. Now, the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act in 2010, more recent thing the FDA brought about, was designed to provide quality, affordable health care for all Americans, including preventative and public health. Now, the Food and Drug Administration Safety and Innovative Act strengthened the FDA's ability to safeguard the advance of public health. And nurses can't provide or prescribe or administer drugs without the healthcare provider order. Nurses who administer the drug without a licensed healthcare provider's order are in violation of the Nurse Practice Act and can have their license revoked. So remember that, even though that you know that doctor and know that doctor would prescribe a Demerol or would prescribe Toradol every Q6 hours. You want to make sure you call that physician and confirm that you can place that order. It's because everything's computer generated now. It's not a handwritten order. You have to call that doctor. They usually have a portal that you can submit those orders in just to be safe. Don't get in the habit of putting orders in and assuming that your physician's going to sign off of it. Come to bite you. And you can actually go in front of a peer review and maybe lose your license. So remember that. It identifies how the medications are administered, the other acts of govern how the drugs are marketed and tested. This is something to remember. It's just a thing with counterfeit drugs. Canadian pharmacy came into play, and people were going down to Mexico and getting a lot, affordable medications. And they later had found out a lot of them ended up being counterfeit. So they didn't have they had the incorrect ingredients, insufficient amounts, and really weren't working. So that's why the FDA is actually in place. The pharmaceutical companies, yes, they do overcharge. Hopefully that will be corrected in the future, because you will see in different countries, they don't charge those countries as much for the same drug. But in the meantime, this is what we have to deal with. But just remember, the chemical name of the drug describes the drug's chemical structure, basically. Let's see, is also if you have a over-the-counter drug and you're a nurse, it's your responsibility to read and know that and inform the patient of any type of side effects. Say, for instance, if a patient has high blood pressure and the doctor prescribes some medication that could elevate the blood pressure. That's not likely, but usually, say, for instance, if it's a Sudafed's going to elevate the blood pressure. So you're going to have to make sure you look and then call the doctor back and confirm that they want to give that medication. Many drug references are available, including text that identify related nursing implications in the areas of teaching, which there are so many. The drug books they are now, you have to keep up with it on a yearly basis, if not more often, because they change so much. I've gotten to a point where, yes, you have your drug book. They're great. But you want to double check and see if there's any new medications. And with that being said, I will say that we're going to go ahead and for this module, one of the things I want to do in the discussion board is go over the different medications that have been prescribed, and the FDA has sped up the studies on the medication that's being approved for the coronavirus that actually was used to help treat Ebola patients. and I'm going to spell it to you. It's REMDESIFIR. And I want everyone to look benefits and risk, and to give me your opinions on what you think of the drug. If you feel like when you research it, if it will be, the benefits will outweigh the risk. And so just keep that in mind. And if y'all have any questions, you can see in the syllabi the times that I'll be available to email you guys back. And so, but anytime, if y'all need me, you can get in touch with me and I'll get back with you as soon as possible. I hope you have a good day. Thanks.